Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far with the Kenny disaster class this past weekend. Scump has given his perspective on the situation as well, with Kenny having the lowest 3-map performance of the entire league so far this season. Scump says that absolutely Kenny needs to put it together or changes may well be necessary. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. If Scump was to sub in for Kenny, would the team become better in the short term? Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Thought it was a kind of nice little post-match debrief here with Scrappy. After, of course, they demolished the Vegas Falcons in the respawns, got demolished in the search and destroy. Speaking of the game state, though, I did want to mention this because Octane was roasting a couple of things last night, and for very good reason. This is one that does really annoy me, especially because often what I think about is, because I look at the YouTube chat when the Twitch, when the matches are happening quite a lot, obviously it used to be Twitch, but and I see people in there who are clearly watching for the first time, they're asking questions like, when does the game end? As in, I saw some guy last night, the hardpoint map was 225 to 225, and, he wasn't aware that it was 250 to win. So, you get new people that are discovering this league for the first time, and the product that they see is, not particularly good, is it, right? Like, every single search and destroy, and control at times, but search and destroy especially, the scoreboard is wrong. Every single time it's a problem, and it's been a problem for some time, and they've not fixed it. We're here in Major 2 now. I also genuinely believe the entire Codcaster needs a revamp. It's been the same for a few years. I think they need to, redesign it. I don't think it's bad. I actually think our Codcaster's pretty good compared to what some other esports have. But I think that the same exact thing year after year does get a bit stale. So I'd think they should, revamp it a little bit at least, the scoreboard and the Codcaster setup going into the next seasons. And maybe when they're doing that, they can fix the bugs as well. That would be nice. There was also, of course, the big controversy yesterday with, the fact that a game crashed in the Game 5 between, or Game 2, Round 11, between Toronto and Ravens. And there is a big issue now. Although Dinter does say they may well have fixed this in the latest patch, and maybe the pros aren't playing quite on the most recent one, because often that tends to be how things are for whatever reason. But yeah, it's a bit of an issue when if I've got a streak and I'm thinking, do I call it in? And if I call it in, the game might crash. I mean, on some level, it adds another skill gap, because let's say my team's leading by 30. I might say, right, I'm not going to use the streak because we're likely to win this game, so I'm not going to call it in. All of a sudden, if we go down by 30, then hell yeah, I'm calling the streak in, because if the game crashes, oh, unlucky, guess we get a replay. So, it is a complete shambles, isn't it, really? This was another clip that I didn't ever share, I think, a few days ago, but I thought was just kind of funny, really. Of course, Hook, after getting dropped down to challenges by OpTic, he was, playing a bit of 8s, and this kill onto Kenny, well, he kills Kenny. He probably doesn't know who he's killed, let's be honest, so he's not trying to talk trash or anything, but he does say, wow, that guy got smoked, basically, in some other words that COD pros often say. So, yeah, that was definitely a gunfight win from Hook. Look, the guy can shoot straight. Was he the right fit for OpTic at this particular time? I don't personally think so. But it's not like Kenny's the right fit in terms of his numbers, because the KD is not looking pretty. I also wanted to mention this because the other day, BenJ, well actually let's say at Madrid, BenJ was talking a lot and we were discussing it on the couch and after the fact on the podcast and stuff, performance coaching. How does it impact some teams? Does it work for some teams better than others? Is it a good idea? And you see Ultra kind of lean into that here, right? Ultra, in many respects, were probably like the first team to actually do this. Remember Bance with the breathing exercises and stuff like that, leaning into this idea of the gameplay. Now, look, was their performance in Madrid great? No, but, here they are. I find this video pretty funny. JoeDeceives is doing his warm-up stretches before the game. You've got Beans doing the Pierre Gasly, catching the tennis ball and whatever to get the reaction time ready. And, look, I think it's pretty cool. Does it really make you play COD better? There's a question on that, but this is the main point that people are discussing right now, is okay, some teams are taking it very seriously, some teams maybe are not. And whether you think this stuff is like cheesy or whatever, if the player is using these activities and it helps them get locked in for the game, if you want to describe it like that, I think it's undoubtedly beneficial to some degree. Like, how many times have we heard players say over the last few years, oh, we just came out slow, And that, like, is often an excuse, isn't it? Oh, we came out slow. Like, first of all, what does that even mean? Second of all, you've been warming up in the background. Like, how is it possible to come out slow? it doesn't really work like that. So, you know, I think stuff like this can be beneficial. Of course, we talked about it a lot during the weekend in the context of OpTic, because they don't really, you know, in the way that FaZe and Ultra, and I mean, Ultra may not be a top 4 team in the game. They may be, kind of depends on your perspective. They believe they are, at least, so maybe there's that. But they did get slammed confusingly by Cloud9 a couple of days ago this past weekend. But still, FaZe, Thieves, and Ultra, those are really the big 3 teams that are employing this performance coaching stuff, and of the top 4 hypothetical teams with OpTic in that kind of conversation, they've not gone down that route. Maybe it's something to think about from, like, you know, mentality, you know, mental coaching, mental performance coaching, whatever. Maybe you guys think it's irrelevant. It's relevant in real sports. All real sports do it. I think it's relevant in esports as well. Whether it works for every player, that's a question. And I think I'm really discussing this again today in the context of Kenny, really, and the OpTic team in general, getting them in the right headspace. And, you know, because the amount of times, at least recently, where you look at the player counts on OpTic and it doesn't look like they're having a great time. Kenny doesn't look like he's having a great time, neither do the rest of the team. We did finally see a couple of smiles and laughs out of Kenny last night, which is very rarely seen. So maybe they're getting a bit of that, you know, old mentality and vibe and energy back. But it obviously ain't looking great, even with Pred back into the starting team. So it's been a big question of the last few days. I mean, even this, right, the fact that Rocker, they 3-0'd OpTic. They're not 3-0'd anyone else this year. Like, Rocker are pretty good, and Porlex is actually starting to shoot back now. The Estriel Nero SMG duo is spectacularly good in my opinion. They're right up there with some of the best in the game. So Rocker are nice. No doubt, I like the team that Looney's put together. And fair play keeping Porlex, because, you know, if I was making the call, would I have done? Probably not. I would have probably made a change there. But I stuck with Paul, and it seems to be paying off for now. But Rocker have played quite a few series this season. They've won quite a few series too. They've not 3-0'd anyone until yesterday, and it was OpTic, of course, that they got the 3-0 victory against. So I wanted to share what Scump had to say on this, because he was looking after the series at some of the numbers where Nero delivered in that 3-map series compared to where Kenny delivered in that 3-map series. Was obviously different roles, but very much a night and day difference. And, you know, Scump is of the opinion, absolutely, after watching what's happened over the last couple of days, that, yeah, the team isn't in a great spot, but Kenny individually absolutely has to step up, or things are going to have to change.
Sort of like he's talking about, people get better.
Is that the lowest?
Like, the game becomes easier, not just because he's playing better, but because his like team is playing better. You get your teammates' timings down.
Yeah, Ken's gotta figure it out a little bit, man. I don't know if he's in his head or just.
I mean, even Dashy right there with him now.
That's what I was thinking about. Like, when the game becomes easier for the team and they're playing together, it becomes easier for that individual.
Yeah, what the fuck?
OpTic just don't play the game, obviously. What kind of dumbass? What kind of dumbass comment is that? OpTic don't play the game. Yeah, you caught him, bro. You caught him. The pro team's not scrimming. They're not playing. You caught him, bro. Like, bro, have some thought, bro. Have some.
So these, of course, the numbers that, well, Scump was looking at there from Mack, of course. So in a 3-map series, the numbers look as follows. We have, well, Nero with 90 kills overall in a 3-map series, which is the most this season by a very long way, actually. It's kind of insane. Now, 36 from Kenny. In that series yesterday, Kenny had 53, but it obviously depends on the maps they play and how down to the wire the maps go and things like this. But the day before, Kenny only had 36. Dashy had 37 in that series against FaZe, right? So, you know, Nero, of course, topping the ladder in this particular statistic, and it's not an especially relevant stat, but it is still important. Probably the more relevant stat is this one, which is just overall KD. Because if you look at the overall KDs this stage, you'll find the following. Wixel's down here at a 0.79. The only Falcons member here, actually, Lucky had a weak first series back, a 0.76. Super had a 0.8. Wake had a 0.82. But, you know, most of these guys have only played a couple of series this stage. Kenny has also only played a couple of series this stage. But, I mean, obviously, you know, let's say Lucky and Super only played one match this weekend, right? But Kenny with a 0.62. I mean, it's... You know, it's the worst in the league this stage in the first weekends by a country mile, to be honest. And that's on, you know, a player who's double world champion, the only 2-time world champion of the CDL era on the reigning world championship winning roster, right? So Scump's right, no doubt about it. Kenny's got to step it up. I know there was a bit of talk as well, and I do understand this perspective on, okay, let's say OpTic had to make a substitution, or let's say Shotzzy just loses faith in Kenny and says, look, Ken, you're playing crap. You need to step out the team for a couple of weeks and figure yourself out, play some 8s or something, right? Like, we need to win, so we're not getting them with you dropping 0.5s. If that happens, I don't know, I mean, probably if that happens, they would bring Illy in. I guess that would be Shotzzy's decision. But imagine that they said, all right, Damon, as in Karma, you come in for a series, or Scump, you come in for a series. I don't think that would be the plan, but it's interesting anyway. Scrappy was discussing it as well, because some of the OpTic fans are saying, look, you've got to lock in, they've got to play more COD, and that's fair enough, obviously. Scrappy is being sarcastic here when he says, like, OpTic don't play the game. What he's effectively saying is, yeah, OpTic are trying, right? They're putting in the time, they're putting in the work, they're putting in the scrims. But it's fascinating because you guys probably remember back in December time when Shotzzy was on stream saying, yeah, FaZe are in a bit of a slump right now, they ain't looking very good. You know, every team goes through it. Now OpTic are going through it, right? And Maven even made the comment on stream yesterday on the desk about how OpTic need to take Shotzzy's advice when Shotzzy was roasting teams for not trying and not playing for the win and not putting in the time and in all these things. Turns out that OpTic are the team that need to execute on that advice now. So, look, they're obviously trying, but it's not clear that it's going to work out. And this is interesting as well. I mean, with Shotzzy, Dashy, Kenny and Pred, obviously they've only played a couple of series with him back in December and now most recently. But, you know, this is their record. 2-3 in Hardpoint, 1-4 in Search and Destroy, 2-2 in Control. So, yeah, kind of as I expected, the Search, bit of a letdown. And I think that was also the issue for me. Like, even if OpTic went Game 5 with FaZe, even if they went Game 5 with Rocker, would they have won the final Search? You know, not with the way that... I mean, it was like, okay, in the respawns, you can have a look at the numbers and someone could go 20 and 30, but actually they've been quite impactful. In the Search, if you've gone 2 in 10, like, you are basically playing 3v4. But Kenny's accolades, they still are the same accolades that he previously had. And, you know, these are some of them, to say the very least. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. I thought, just as I share these, it was cool to see Maven on the desk yesterday. You know, it's a bit of an aside really, but I think the desk segments are so much more interesting when there's someone on the desk willing to speak their mind and willing to give a slightly controversial take, because so many of the desks in esports, it's not just COD, but they just talk about the games non-offensively, and they don't want to have a hot take, or then maybe they don't ask the pertinent questions to the players in the interviews and all this stuff. And I think when, look, Maven just don't care, does he? Like, you know, agree with him or disagree with him, that's the point, right? Maven's on the desk, he's going to give his take, and it's going to rile up some opinion. That is how esports desks, in my opinion, should be. And it made me watch the desk. Like, respectfully, I never really watched the desk segments, and I'm sure you guys are the same. When Maven was on, I was like, he's cooking. let me unmute that, right, and watch the segments. So I think there's something that the desk needs to learn from that personally. I'm not saying that Alleycat and Nameless need to be flinging off like insane takes left, right and centre, but I think they need to be more willing to say something. That's my opinion anyway. But yeah, intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Well, listen, they did it with Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar knew he was retiring. He was hoping to get a coaching job.
Not, listen. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. I think they need an external opinion that's not in the camp. No.
All right, see, boys. Now, people watch this show and are actually like, you know what?
Chris, you might be the only person in the world that would.
That's the best idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, there's no way. Fella would just be wasting his time if he's not getting paid or he's not offered anything, right?
Well, I'm not saying he's not offered anything. I'm just saying
that's the problem.
I think they need an external opinion. Lamar helped.
This is why COD.
Like. Hell, they could benefit from that maybe from somebody else.
It's just like you just read brain dead shit all day.
Shelly's in platinum.
Because this guy.
Not dropping a neg 40, bro, with an AR.
Because this guy.
Just you need a dynamic shift right now, bro. Just bro, if anything, to get these guys' confidence back. Like they've lost all confidence, bro. They're getting 3-0'd.